You guys, I am having light bulbs and epiphanies go off right now. I don't want to talk about it. And it's funny because it fully connects to something that I wrote down the other night from a reading that I did. And it's connecting to this like perfectly. So I guess I just wasn't meant to record the other night like I was originally going to, because now it's all coming around. So, okay, let me start actually with what I wrote down the other night. So, Spirit gave a specific message to a client about letting go and surrendering. And the message was, I don't need to read the exact message, but one important sentence is like, don't expect everything to happen like you think it will. So twin flames, divine feminines tend to get caught up focusing on how they think it will happen or how they think it should happen. And they will focus on that, and it'll be based on the circumstances and that they think that this is how it'll happen because of X, Y, and Z reason. But one of the things, though, the twin flame journey is that Spirit will really like legitimately surprise you with how they will bring everything together. Spirit will create tower moments and events and things that will happen that will bring about the necessary steps and the necessary actions, and will divinely align things, and it will surprise us. We won't be expecting things to happen in the way that it does. Spirit does this on purpose because we aren't meant to know exactly how things will happen, and we aren't meant to know exactly when it will happen. So, and part of that too, like that's really our 3D stuff. That is our need to control and to understand and whatnot. And so that's why it's actually part of our healing process. Spirit doing it to us that way, it's two parts. It's part of our healing process so that for us to let go of that control. And it's also part of our oh my gosh, I just lost it. It's part of our learning to be present and not focus on like fears and anxieties and the future, but being present and in the moment. And it's also just simply that when you're too focused on one thing, you can close off other opportunities from coming through. You know what I mean? So you have to be more open and receptive to anything. So Spirit does it in this way for that reason, to break us out of those shells and those molds and allow us to be surprised and allow things to unfold in the best way possible, which only Spirit knows. So I'm going to actually read that whole message now. And it was, you expect your dreams to come true, and they will, but on my timing and when letting go comes more naturally. Don't expect everything to happen like you think it will. You will be surprised by how everything comes together. Don't come to conclusions that it will happen a certain way. Be open to every possibility. Believe in the impossible and see it happening. So yes. The more the process of letting go and surrendering is allowing yourself to open to all the possibilities and not focus on it having to be one way or something like that. And it doesn't even, like, one side of that is where you think it has to happen that way, like meaning like in your head that's the best way for it to occur. So you think that like logically it must happen that way for it to work out best. But sometimes that can also mean that it's not that you think that it has to, but that like just the way the circumstances are, that's what makes the most sense. Hopefully you understand what I mean with the difference there. It's really hard to explain. But it could be a case where you're looking at the circumstances, the work situations, and just like the facts of how everything is, and you think, oh, well, I feel like it has to happen in this way because this is what needs to be worked around. This is, what makes sense for how it would occur. And then Spirit will just like throw a curveball at you, and will throw a tower in or whatever, and will surprise you, and it'll happen completely differently. And that's what Spirit does most of the time for twin flames. And that is the best way for it to happen because it's not planned at all. And the more both the divine masculines and the divine feminines try to plan the more it can end up going awry. And the best way is to just, have somewhat of a plan, but go with the flow and allow whatever to happen. And so as a divine feminine, you have to relinquish that that idea of like thinking it has to be a certain way, and just allow the possibilities to be endless and allow spirit to surprise you. Okay, so now my epiphanies that are happening tonight. Many divine feminines, I see like there's like two groups. There's those who are able to just like sit back and just let things unfold. And then there's the group that have to know everything going on. I'm in the group that has to know everything going on. There's a reason why. And this is where the epiphanies came from. And it makes complete sense to me now. I'm kind of surprised I didn't see it before, but I didn't. Now I do. So I was thinking that it's a certain personality type that needs to operate in that way, and needs to, just know what's everything going on, and trying to understand it, and trying to think of how it will happen and all those things. It's OCD. Even though I have my psych degrees, I'm not a practicing therapist, so I don't have, memorization of the exact criteria and of all the different mental disorders. And things have changed over time as well in how they are taught and understood. And so I have a friend who posted on social media tonight about her sessions with her therapist, and how her therapist was seeing different quirks and things that she was doing, and assessed her for OCD, and turned out she has OCD, and she's considered in the moderate range. So I realized that, they're looking at OCD as on a spectrum, which makes more sense now versus, in the past I had heard of like OCD personality versus actual OCD. And, you often think of OCD as like, you have to turn the light on and off a million times. You can't step on cracks. You have to wash your hands a million times, stuff like that. And of course, most of us don't have OCD like that. But she listed a ton of examples of things that she does, like specific stuff to her. And it made all these light bulbs go off in me about things that I have done in the past, like not just pertaining to this, but like in general. And also pertaining to this. So I thought of all of these examples for myself from the past, from my whole life, and also pertaining to the twin flame journey and the spiritual warfare journey. And I realized it's OCD. So anybody who, and I would guess that I'm in the moderate range as well. So any divine feminines, are you obsessing about angel numbers and signs, and you have to save them, and you have to you dissect them and understand them and all of that stuff, and all sorts of things, anything that gives you some more knowledge or control in some way for the twin flame journey and for the spiritual warfare journey. It's the OCD. That's the difference in the personality types, like I would have originally said. And if you are struggling to be able to let go and surrender, it's because of the OCD. Because this is something that is not tangible. You can't see it, so it's harder to understand. So that's your brain. That's your brain trying to make sense of everything, and trying to understand, and trying to control. And the twin flame journey and the spiritual warfare journey are, I can't think of the right word, but they cause flare-ups with the OCD. I had a flare-up around 2019, and I'm sure it was because of spiritual warfare, because I had an intense spiritual warfare journey. And during my flare-up, I had that obsession with the signs and whatnot, and I would collect feathers. And here's a perfect example. If I start picking up feathers, I have to pick up every single one, and I live on a lake. One day I picked up 1,000 feathers because I couldn't stop until I picked them all up, and they're in a Ziploc bag. So that's just one example. I don't do that anymore. Okay. But that's just, like I said, because the twin flame journey and because the spiritual warfare journeys are not something that we can even see, and they're not something that we can control, and they are something that forces us to relinquish control and forces us to learn how to step in flow with spirit and to step into that blind faith and trust. Our minds like struggle with that and need that control, and that is where these tendencies and these OCD behaviors are getting provoked and causing flare-ups, and we're going down those paths. Now, I say this, I explain all of this for you to understand it, because, you know, yes, there's some stuff you can do, but it's not like you can easily overnight control that. I mean, you can certainly work with a therapist to control your OCD behaviors, to learn how to control your OCD behaviors. Isn't it ironic that it's also about control? Yeah, so point being, you can get help for it, but, you know, the first step is knowledge, is understanding. So, and understanding that that's what's going on, that's what it is, it helps you heal it. So over time, just like what has happened with me, over time, you will be able to let go more and surrender more, and you won't need all that stuff. Like, I don't need to pay attention to all the numbers and save all the signs anymore, and haven't saved feathers in years. I'll pick up the occasional one now. And I have another example of this is like needing to know everything going on. So readings is another example of that. There's nothing wrong with getting readings, but of course, just like all addictions, like it can become too much. So, you know, there's a fine line, just like with anything else, moderation, just like with anything. So yeah, readings are the same as anything else, moderation, okay? There's nothing wrong with getting readings, looking into what's going on, and readings are very helpful and informative as terms of knowing what you need to work on or what you need to deal with, understanding what you're, like, when I talk about understanding the Divine Masculine's perspective, best way to understand the Divine Masculine's perspective is through readings, having someone explain to you what he's going through, what he's dealing with, because we can get so caught up in our own worlds and our own ideas of what's going on, and as humans, we tend to make assumptions. So readings help with that. Readings help with understanding from your Divine Masculine's perspective. And readings are helpful in other capacities too. Like when I was in the thick of the spiritual warfare, there were many times that my readings informed me of things that were happening that I needed to be aware of, that needed to be dealt with. Like, I learned of some of the karmic partners' nefarious plans, we'll say, through readings. And so part of why I had the need to get readings is to keep an eye on her and to know everything she's up to, so that I could always, you know, be one step ahead of her and make sure that she didn't do anything to gain control when she shouldn't. She was a satanic witch, so was being the key word there, because I defeated her. But anyway, so point being simply that during spiritual warfare, the readings can actually be important, because spirit informs you of what it is that you need to deal with and what it is you need to, I'm trying to think of the right way to say it, whether you want to say fix or prevent or heal or whatever. Like when you're talking about spiritual warfare, the particular right words are hard, because you're talking about things that are, you know, not normal of what we have been taught, what we learned. But anyway, that's semantics. So yes, so the readings serve a purpose too, and they help you in many different ways, but you want to be able to recognize the difference between when you are going into that like OCD territory of needing to try to have control in some way versus allowing them to help you but not control you. You know what I mean? Hopefully. So the twin flame journey and spirit are going to bring you through this process. It will occur naturally when you can have the conscious understanding of it. It's something that you can consciously work on, but it will happen naturally as guided by spirit. So what that means is that it doesn't matter if you don't have conscious realization of this or if you fight it. I mean, if you fight it, it's going to be a harder and a longer process, okay? But you don't have to. Just like I say that for divine masculines, spirit brings them through the experiences necessary for them to heal and find their way towards union, because for divine masculines, they are unconscious to the wounds. They are unconscious to the spiritual stuff. So whereas the divine feminines are actively doing the inner work, the divine masculines have to do it unconsciously, and spirit brings them through that process by putting them through the dark nights of the soul and whatever events and situations, like karmic situations and relationships, that will teach them the lessons and put them through the inner healing process without them consciously realizing it. So now flip it over to the divine feminines. When it comes to the surrendering and the letting go, spirit will bring you through that process, whether or not you consciously realize it. But if you are able to consciously take recognition of what it is that's going on with you, then you can work towards it as well, whether that is, working on OCD stuff or something else. But yes, spirit will guide you through that process. And the process of letting go and surrendering it does not mean like moving on. It does not mean pretending like your twin doesn't exist. And I think a lot of people think that it means like you have to like have this happy, amazing life, and then your twin will be allowed to enter it. It can be as simple as just focusing on day-to-day living. What is it that you need to do each day? What is it that you need to do, even if it's just to survive? I mean, spirit does want you to be happy and content, but it doesn't have to be like an amazing life. It can be as simple as, because I say it like that because we can it can be hard in separation, not because of the separation, but because we are only one person and we only have so many resources, is what I'm getting at. It can be hard to create the exact life of your dreams. You can move in that direction and you can be making positive steps and progress, but you might not have the full actualization of your dreams. Does that make sense? Because, if you're a single parent, for example, resources are what they are. You know what I mean? So in the surrendering process, you want to be working towards creating your dream life and bringing your dreams into reality. And you want to be content on a day-to-day basis. And surrendering can be as simple as focusing on the day-to-day stuff and not allowing the fears and anxieties to get to you and to pick at you, and not allowing the fears and anxieties to control you, and in so doing, not feeling the need to try to gain control through whatever way it may manifest, from those OCD tendencies and those needing to know things and those needing to control. You know what I mean? So yeah. The process of surrendering and letting go can be as simple as that. Just focusing on the day-to-day life, focusing on being content and happy, not allowing the fears and anxieties and the need to control you. Yeah. Personally, I also feel that when you can understand what's going on, that helps you with the surrendering too, because even if you can't control it, if you can understand it, then that allows you to relinquish that need to control. So that's why I do so many videos, and that's why I teach so much about understanding from the higher perspective and understanding from your divine masculine's perspective, but especially the higher spiritual perspective, when I will be explaining like how spirit orchestrates everything and soul will overrides free will. Like, the reason why I explain it like that is because, to me, being able to understand that how it works and that's why things are the way they are, because because there's a greater divine plan in place, and because our souls and spirit are orchestrating everything exactly how it needs to be, and we are just not meant to know all of those details, and we just have to understand that everything, both the good and the bad, is all part of the plan and part of the grand design, and is all contributing towards the outcome, towards reaching the outcome and learning all of the lessons and the healing process. Being able to understand that and trust spirit, and then in turn putting our trust into spirit's hands, that helps us to surrender. So that is why I explain all of that the way that I do. And I know that it does aggravate some people who think that they want to focus on their perspective and not the higher perspective. But ultimately, that is how you will achieve surrendering, and that is how you will fall into alignment with union, ultimately. When we are not seeing through the higher perspective, then we are only seeing through our limited perspective. We are seeing through our ego center, because our intuitive center is automatically connected to the higher perspective. So while I am not trying to take away from anyone's individual feelings and perspectives of like, this is what I'm going through, this is how I feel, this is what I need, that is all from the ego center. And that is the wounded inner child basically crying out for attention. So this is all part of the healing process. Going through the twin flame journey, it's part of that process of healing that wounded inner child, so that your ego center is no longer, I don't know why I'm doing this for ego center. So your ego center is no longer controlling that narrative, and is no longer able to like assert, but me, this is what I want, this is how I feel. And you heal that wounded inner child, and you shift to understanding, this is what my divine masculine is going through. This is the process that he needs to go through for his healing. It's not even consciously in his control completely. It's partially in his control. It's partially under spirit's control. And then beyond that, this is the greater understanding from spirit's perspective of why it is the way that it is, why the situation had to happen this way, what lessons were being learned from this, what healing was being brought about through this process, through this event, through this situation. When we can understand from those higher perspectives that get away from the ego center and connect to spirit and connect to our higher selves, then we're connecting to the greater divine plan and orchestration, and that is how we are able to let go and trust that spirit knows what they're doing. Even if we go through tough times, and also when we go through good times, spirit knows what it's doing and is bringing us through the exact process that we need to go through. That every step, every event, every situation, spirit knows, and spirit is taking us down our path exactly as it needs to be for our healing as divine feminines, for the healing of our divine masculines, and for us to achieve inner union first and then outer union together. And both are important and necessary for the twin flame journey completion and process for ascension. Okay? So that is why I explain surrendering and understanding the higher perspective in the ways that I do. Okay, I thought I was done, but after I finished recording, I was talking to a friend, and then more stuff started coming to me. So I'm not done. So the twin flame journey has two different phases for the divine feminine, at least. A yang period and a yin period. Action versus inaction or rest, okay? During the first part of the journey, is the yang period, and it is part of it is that need for control, need to understand what's going on, need to try to do something to help the process along. And that's why the divine feminines are the awake ones who are actively working on their healing process, because they're trying to control it. They're trying to control the journey and help it along in whatever way that they can. So they're taking action in all sorts of different ways to be able to do that. Okay, now, especially when there is spiritual warfare involved, the yang period becomes even an important period. You know, I can't speak as much to this for just a normal twin flame journey that doesn't have spiritual warfare, because that is my area of expertise, is with the spiritual warfare, and a good portion of my clients that are guided to me have that. But I have also seen the 50-50 split, just like Spirit has told me before, that 50% of twin flames have spiritual warfare. So I get both, but I work more closely with the spiritual warfare ones. And the reason why the yang period is important on the spiritual warfare journeys is because we have to take action when it comes to spiritual warfare. You cannot be in yin energy when it comes to spiritual warfare. You cannot sit back and just see what happens. Spiritual warfare is the only thing that can prevent union and can come between you and your twin flame permanently. And spiritual warfare can even cause physical harm or death in truly severe cases. So spiritual warfare must be dealt with appropriately. It must be fixed, stopped, healed, removed, whatever it is. I'm talking about extreme spiritual warfare here, okay? I'm not talking about some random spells or so many people, you know, learn how to do crap from the internet. But I'm talking about intense spiritual warfare, whether it's obsessive black magic work or it's demonic entities. There can also be like past life issues and generational stuff that can be more problematic than what you would think. But, you know, my purpose here is not to go into those details. It's to explain the yang aspect. So what's important to understand here is that when there is spiritual warfare involved, the yang energy is necessary, particularly when there's an active attack. If it's a passive attack, which means that it's something from a past life or generational, that is not an active attack. So it should be as simple as, you know, taking care of it, and then your issues are done. But in an active attack, when you have someone like a karmic partner or something like a demon actively attacking, then you have to be in yang energy. You have to be assessing the situation, you know, getting help as needed to stop the attacks and to protect you and your twin from them, because that's what is not just going to come between you two, is also going to, can cause worse problems, can cause, honestly, like I said, can cause harm, can even cause death in severe cases, can cause like complete brainwashing, can cause, like I have seen karmic partners almost like take control of a divine masculine's free will, and it almost feels like taking ownership of his soul. They become obsessed with it, and they can summon demons to help them do that, or they can summon other dark spirits to help them do that. So this is why, you know, when I referenced that, you know, I had readings were helping me stay on top of what the karmic partner was doing, you know, this is why, because it was allowing me to prevent her from doing any of that successfully. So, you know, I removed what she did before I found out, and I blocked everything she did after that. I think there was like 1 or 2 times where she slipped something through, and I found out immediately, and I was able to fix it immediately. But the point is that required me always being active and in that active phase of knowing what's going on. So the yang period of activity in the twin flame journey is that's when you have control and you have the power to remove threats and ensure that all the obstacles are clear from your journey. Yes, spirit can help protect you, but something is coming to me. Something that came to me like a week or 2 ago, and I forgot. I think I wrote it down and forgot about it. So I'm probably going to have to look it up. I probably have it in my notes. But yes, I'm running out of time anyway. Give me 1 second. I totally had downloads coming in there, and I was trying to remember everything at the same time as I was recording. So I found it. I'm going to summarize for now. The full message is for a different conversation, but a lot of people believe when it comes to spiritual warfare that your spirit team is always protecting you. They are, but when you are being attacked or you have something from the past, like I said, more is required in order to protect and prevent it from being a worst case scenario. And why doesn't your spirit team just automatically stop and prevent all of that? Because that's not why we're here. Because we are here to learn from our human experience, and even though we are not taught to believe it because of religious teachings and because of how the dark has controlled us through the manipulation of the governments and religion so that we don't believe in spiritual aspects of life. The spiritual aspects of life are still an innate and natural part of life, even though we don't learn about it. And part of our lessons on earth involve learning from spiritual warfare and spiritual experiences also. So when we are dealing with black magic or demons or whatever, those are experiences we are supposed to go through to learn certain lessons. And spirit does not automatically control for that and does not automatically prevent it, because then we are not learning what we are supposed to learn from it. We are the ones that are human. We are the ones with free will. Spirit is actually on the same level. Like good spirits, bad spirits, whatever, they're still on the same level. Good spirits cannot destroy bad spirits because they're even. They're on an even playing field. We are the ones with free will who have to choose to take the necessary steps for protection. So we have to ask spirit for the help, and we have to seek out the necessary help as needed, as guided, to deal with these situations. So yes, we have some protections to some degree, but to truly deal with a situation, to destroy an entity attacking us, and to block, black magic and stuff, like we have to use our free will to make the right choices involved. And that is the yang energy, like I was talking about. Spirit can't just do it for us. We have to take that action ourselves. I have said before that everything that we experience, both the good and the bad, is happening for a reason, for our lessons, for our healing, and even for our spiritual awakening and training process, so to speak. And the spiritual warfare is included in that. And so spirit cannot just automatically protect us from it without us even knowing what's going on. We have to know about it. We have to deal with it appropriately. It is part of our awakening. It is part of our spiritual training, because many twin flames are spiritual warriors as well. And we are in ascension, and we are going through Armageddon. We are meant to help defeat evil, and that is part of our training process and strengthening process. So the yang period of the twin flame journey is when we have to take necessary action and steps with that stuff, and take necessary action and steps in our healing process that also helps our twin flames healing process. And during that period, like that is an important period of the journey, and spirit guides us through it appropriately. Like whatever it is that we need to go through, whatever action steps we need to take, spirit guides us through it. Now, when we successfully complete the yang period of the twin flame journey, this is all like coming to me like now. Then is the yin period. And the yin period is when we have to sit back and we have to process all of the healing and process all of the knowledge and awareness gained and the growth. It's when we have to go within and integrate everything we've learned and everything that we are learning and healing. And I have this book because there's an important message about yang and yin in here that goes along with this. In yang mode, we get things done. In yin mode, we fill our tank and reflect on our larger vision and purpose. So when it is time to move, we do so with precision. If we are to live in balance, we need both action and reflection. There are times to do and times for inaction. To know which mode is most appropriate, step back and practice discernment. Because this card is about discernment. But so my feeling with the twin flame journey is that we go through the yang period, and then we go through the yin period, and then they will come together and find balance, and where we understand when it's right to take action and when it's right to sit back and wait, and when it's right to take. So in the yang period, that's going to be a part of our active healing process and defeating spiritual warfare. In the yin period, that's going to be like integrating everything that we have just gone through and everything we're processing in the higher awareness. And then when they come together, it's going to be understanding when to take appropriate steps with our twin or towards our twin, and when to sit back and let them process. I want to add to that, so I'll restate it so that you get the whole message. The yang period is when we have to take appropriate action in our personal healing processes, defeating spiritual warfare, and any assistance that we are guided to do to help our twin flames on their healing process. Because we as divine feminines can do spiritual work, spiritual healing to help our twin flames heal also. Then the yin period is when we are meant to go within, sit back and allow for the internal growth, allow for the processing of everything, the integration of everything. And we will be naturally, subconsciously shifting into those higher levels of awareness and understanding. And then when they come into balance, Spirit will be guiding us on when to initiate certain action or steps with our twin flame, versus when to step back and allow our twin and hold space for our twin flame while they're going through whatever it is that they need to go through on their healing and growth process. Okay. So all three are present and all three are important. The action, the yang period, is just as important as the yin period. We just have to understand the difference, and we have to learn to connect with our intuitive higher self center, move away from the ego center, connect with our intuitive center, which is our higher self, and understand what is appropriate when. And all of this, like the yin period, is what teaches us to surrender. And the yin period is what teaches us to let go of that control. The yang period is difficult, that even though both are necessary, the yang period, it conditions us to try to control everything, to try to know everything going on and control as much as possible. But then the yin period, it deconditions us to let go of that control. It's I have said before, the twin flame journey and the spiritual warfare journey cause their own traumas, and they do. And it's that conditioning from the yang period that then the yin period has to guide us through the process of releasing that and then healing that. And that's why in the reunion phase and in the lead up to union, divine feminines, you will still find yourself purging over things, because it's like newly created fears that were born from the yang period, when you had to be battling whatever, or you were just, it's whatever you go through on your individual journey. So then when you're preparing for union and you're in the yin period, you are being guided through releasing those fears and fully letting go and fully surrendering. Does that make sense? Hopefully. So during the yin period is when we will learn how to surrender, how to let go and trust, and Spirit will guide it. Spirit guides all aspects of the twin flame journey. We might think we have it all figured out and understand what we need to do and all that stuff, but Spirit guides it all. And the more we can just sit back and allow Spirit to be in control, honestly, that's when things are more likely to align and come together. But ultimately, you don't need to worry about anything either way, because Spirit has control, and Spirit is bringing you through the process that you need to go through for healing all of that stuff and all of those tendencies that we have. So the yin period is when Spirit guides us through the process of learning how to release those OCD things, release the need to control, release the feeling like when you're going through spiritual warfare, you're kind of in survival mode also. And the divine masculines are going through something similar when they're in toxic, abusive, karmic situations. So you're in survival mode and it's fight or flight mode. The yin period is the process of releasing that and healing it. And spirit guides us through it and teaches us how to let go and trust. Now, the whole time issue is part of that. The passing of time and forcing us to be patient is a necessary part of the healing process and part of surrendering. Because by spirit forcing us to let go of the time issue and be patient, it forces us to let go of control. It forces us to learn how to surrender. The more that we feel like it has to be by this time, it has to be on our timetable, the more we need something to happen in order to be okay internally, to feel like everything's okay and everything will be okay. The more we need something to happen, that's when it's not going to happen. It does not matter what you do. It doesn't matter how much you beg and plead, or how angry you get and how much you curse or whatever. It does not matter. The more you need it to happen, it is not going to happen. Spirit is going to force you to let that go. When you are okay internally, when you are truly okay, not telling yourself you are, not saying I'm okay, it doesn't bother me, but really you're not. When you're actually okay with whatever, whenever, and you know that it will happen, but you're okay with however spirit aligns it, that's when it will be aligned. Because that is when you are truly surrendered, when you have truly let go of the need to try to control any of it, and that's when you're in that balance between yin and yang energy. So all of that explanation, it helps you understand the different phases and what you need to achieve. It's not going to help you actually achieve it. Like, we're talking about something that is not something that you can really have a lot of conscious control over. You can to some extent. You can go to therapy or try through meditation and different spiritual healing modalities. You can try to achieve some of it. But really, Spirit is going to get you there. Spirit is going to put each of you, divine masculines and divine feminines, Spirit is going to put each of you through whatever is necessary to help you achieve that. And you know what? Something else just flashed into my head too. Divine feminines, we tend to look at the divine masculines and, be able to list all their wounds and say, this is what they need to heal and this is what they need to do. But me, I'm good. I'm ready. I'm okay. I don't have anything to heal. I'm ready. And I'm just waiting for him. But how many times is that not true? Because divine feminine, if we look at your need to control, your needs for something to happen, feeling that impatience, everything that I've talked about in this series of videos, you're not okay. You're not ready. You are still being guided through your own healing process. We say surrender, 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 but the process of learning how to surrender is the healing that the divine feminine has to go through. The process of learning how to surrender and how to accept the patience. That is what the divine feminines are still having to heal and work through and learn. At the same time as the divine masculines are healing their issues and their wounds, divine feminines are being taught how to surrender. And that is their final step of healing. And like I said, this is not something that we can really consciously control. Spirit will guide us through that process, just like Spirit guides the divine masculine through their side, everything they need to go through, and the divine feminine through their side and everything they need to go through. And all you need to do is just trust Spirit. Just trust Spirit to get you there and lead you there. And try to be present in your day-to-day life. Try to enjoy life and not focus on the fears and anxieties like I was talking about before. Try to shift away from your ego center and stay connected to your intuitive center more often than not. And that is the best thing that you can do to try to achieve this and help yourself through this process of finding that inner union, so that then you'll be ready for outer union. Okay? That's the best advice I can give you on that right now. And I think it now covers everything. I do want to add one last final thought, something I just thought of. Don't let, or I mean, you can't control what other people say. I was going to say, don't let somebody tell you. You can't control that. But if somebody tells you this, just ignore them. If somebody says something to you like, you're doing it wrong, or this is not the way you're supposed to be, or you're blocking your union by, being this way, or whatever. Referring to anything I talked about in this series here, what with the OCD tendencies and how the OCD tendencies get triggered, and you have flare-ups from the twin flame journey and the spiritual warfare journey, and that need to control and all that stuff. This journey is triggering our deep-seated mental health stuff, so that spirit can heal it and help you get better. But you're gonna go through that stuff too. It's like an oxymoron, like with the divine masculine, like spirit brings them through dark nights of the soul and to rock bottom and through these toxic karmic cycles in order to heal them. You're causing trauma in order to bring about healing. It's an oxymoron, but it's like it forces us to face these things, and then spirit brings us through the healing process afterwards. So, but just ignore someone who tells you like you're doing it wrong. Like, this is just what you are meant to go through, and it is part of your healing process, and you can't block your union. If you're doing something like that, if you're doing something that would indicate that healing is needed, then you're not ready for union anyway. You're not blocking your own union. You're just not ready yet. And there's nothing wrong with that. Everyone's going through their process the way they have to go through it. And we need to have compassion for each other and not be like throwing accusations around or something. And I can tell you that, like, when I, as a healer, as a reader, if I say something to a client, like, I'm not saying it to like be accusatory or anything like that. I'm saying it to hold up a mirror and show you what it is that you need to work on, so that you can help your side of the healing process. I'm just transparent, and I'm just honest in that respect. But I'm not like trying to be all accusatory or anything like that. I have had people take me the wrong way before. It's part of like my personality and being like a blunt truther, but I'm just holding up a mirror for you to see what it is that you can work on for your healing. But yeah, try not to take stuff personally, and just ignore anybody who acts like that, because this is just what you need to go through for your healing process. I have another thought. What a surprise. When it comes to stuff like the readings and some of the other stuff that I mentioned with the OCD behaviors, the signs and the messages, and obsessing over that stuff. Another thought process that I have about that is that what's most important is our sanity, our peace of mind, quieting the anxiety. Even if the anxiety is still there, even if those wounds are still there and needing to be healed, the best thing that I feel that we can do is do whatever you need to do to quiet it so that it doesn't control you. And if paying attention to the signs helps that, okay. If getting readings helps that, okay, it doesn't matter. You do what you need to do for yourself, okay? Like I said, you can't block your union. If you're not ready, you're not ready. Spirit will guide you through that healing process so that you'll be ready. The hardest part about that is going to be accepting that you're not ready. Being able to see it and accept it and be okay with it. Be okay knowing that you're not ready yet. You're still going through your healing process. When you're ready, union will align. Hold space for yourself as much as you're holding space for your twin and where they're at in their healing process. The worst thing you can do for yourself would be in like trying to ignore it and trying to fight it. Like, if you are being shown in various ways, that could be spirit, it could be people, it could be readings, whatever, but if you're being shown that there's something you need to work on healing, and you're not only ignoring it, but you're denying it, then you're basically fighting that process. And that is going to it just means it's going to take longer. I mean, I'm not going to say you're blocking your union. You're just, it's just going to take time, because that's something that has to heal for you. And Spirit will bring you through that healing process. It's going to take whatever time it's going to take. That is the worst thing that you can do for yourself. But we are all our own individuals. We have our own wounds. We have our own shit we got to heal and deal with. And so you'll go through that however you need to. But the most important thing, I think, is just doing whatever you need to do for yourself to quiet the monkey mind, to gain some sanity and release the anxiety. And as you go along the way, you will find that surrender and that acceptance. Okay? I hope that helps.